Hi, Haley.
Hello.
Guess what yesterday was?
Launch day.
It was launch day, meaning all of our several courses, 6 actually to be exact, are out now and ready for everyone to learn from. Something that hasn't been created before now exists.
Yeah, and it's there for you to do whatever you want. Just watch it.
Learn from it.
Turn it into memes.
Yeah, whatever you want. Whatever our awkward tendencies allow. And this is episode 3 of the Topanga Collective podcast. And although the majority of our socials have changed to cinematography for actors, now we are back to our homestead ideal lifestyle in my back of my head of the Topanga Collective.
Topanga Collective.
Where we talk about everything from working in LA to the technical, the creative, and the practical of filmmaking to just kind of finding our way along within the industry.
Yeah. And the best pizza.
Sure, we can talk about the best pizza.
Topanga Collective. We can talk about anything we want.
Where is the best pizza? You mean like in the world or in LA?
I don't know if I have an answer.
Okay. I have a good one. In Rome, in Trastevere. My favorite pizza out of all of the carbs I sampled was at Dar Poeta, which I know I'm butchering, but Dar Poeta. Fantastic. Just get some wine, get some cheap pizza. Amazing, amazing find. And I went there a few times during a couple of visits, so.
I will say probably the best pizza I've ever had was in Mexico.
Cool.
At Bruma Resort.
Okay.
It's like a winery and
fun.
Yeah. There's a little wine garden that like does like lunch and dinner. It's not like an indoor restaurant. It's outside.
Okay.
Just like in the vineyard.
Fantastic.
Best pizza I've ever had. Also best wine.
That's great.
Go to Mexico for pizza, I guess.
Can I say the worst pizza I've ever had?
Yeah.
I have to be very polite while saying this. Worst pizza I've ever had. Spilling the tea here. Luckily, it's not easy to get to. You won't accidentally stumble upon it. It was in the middle of the Himalayas. And while I was trekking, I was doing Everspace Camp a few years ago. And while I was trekking, they above a certain altitude, they only have a few different things on offer at tea houses, and one of the things they make for like tourists are yak cheese pizza.
Yak cheese
pizza. And it was a lot. Yeah, I like would not recommend it. Maybe it's an acquired taste.
Like, what did it taste
I didn't have time to acquire it. Like sour. Sour. It didn't melt well. And they use like canned mushrooms because like everything that comes up has to be it has to be brought up. Like they can't grow mushrooms really. They have like these rare mushrooms that are foraged on the side of the Himalayas that take like 3 hours to get to that local people will get. But those are used specifically for Sherpas for energy, so they do not waste them on pizza.
They don't put them on pizza.
No, they just like dry them out in the sun, and then they collect them into little bags, and a lot of Sherpas will use those as like energy on their journey because it's a great source of energy.
Oh my god.
Anyway, that's a fun fact of the day.
I had some really bad pizza when I was living in London. Like,
really?
It's the only pizza I've ever been like, I don't want to finish this. And like, I never do that. That is like, it was pretty bad. They put corn on their pizza. I mean, it was like a mixture, of like a peri-peri chicken pizza, but then they also put sweet corn on pizza.
Yeah, it's a lot. Berlin has great pizza.
Really?
Oh my god. I ate so much pizza.
I didn't have any pizza when I was in Berlin. I only had, you know what I will never forget from Berlin is street pretzels.
I've never had
like
a street
soft pretzels
Yum.
from like a train station.
Yeah. Oh my god, the train station like pastry shops, next level.
I was just like looking for a snack. Like I was like, I'll go get like a pretzel. I'm really hungry. And when I went up, I was like, "Okay, pretzel, please." And they said, "How many? 1, 5?" And I was like, 5. And then I was like, just 1. And then I had one, and I was like, oh my god, I need 5. And that place was never open again. I could never go back.
It's like a
and get
Seinfeld
5.
episode where like you go back the next day and it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
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 That Meat Factory
Oh God, they
episode.
were so good.
Yeah. Wow. Apparently we can talk a lot about pizza.
Train
and
station
food.
and soft pretzels.
And soft pretzels.
If you're ever at the train station.
Which one?
Alexanderplatz.
Perfect.
And that pretzel place is open. Get 5.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Don't go to Alexanderplatz except for the pretzels.
Go there for a pretzel.
Yeah. Anyway, back to maybe something that's a little more relevant to an audience. However, if you're beginning to travel, you might want to add those places on your list now.
Yeah, write them down.
But we did launch yesterday, and we are very excited about it because it just means that now we can focus on building one class at a time rather than launching with like several and being like trying to focus on all of those things. And we had a great beta test launch as well beforehand where we got some good feedback. We made a really cool glossary sheet together for our introductory to the camera department class. So, but on the podcast, I mean, I think the reason we created this podcast, and correct me if I'm wrong, Haley, was because we really wanted to just like capture the stuff that was happening while we were recording, that we were like, oh, people might be interested in this, but it just wasn't saved because it wasn't like professionally done in a class. So this feels like a better place to live.
Yeah, well, there's so much stuff that we talk about while we're building these courses, but it gets cut out or it's just like not really relevant to the course that we're making. So this feels like a good place to just kind of be like, oh yeah, this happened. But it's relevant, but not. It's not like not something we feel like we can package and sell to you in a course.
Exactly. And we care about offering as much free content as possible because we care about you and we care about building a community. That's the big aim here. One of the things we are working on at the moment, though, are in-person live workshops, and we're targeting to do 5 of them by the end of the year. I don't know if we'll reach 5, but that's our target, and you and I are committed, so this is happening.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I am very excited about in-person workshops. I think that our course content that we've made, these 6 classes, are a very good, like, base level. Like, it's a good foundation to work on. Like, if someone watches all of those courses, they'll have vocabulary and they'll understand kind of what we mean when we say certain things. But it is very important that these things are practiced in person over and over and over again. So to be able to offer a safe setting for people to come and practice with us and kind of learn how to use the different tools that we're teaching is just very exciting to me.
It is very exciting. I think also people would benefit from hearing how cool your idea was for the workshop.
It was very cool, guys.
Better than my idea.
So my idea was that, we've given you all these like foundational videos to kind of build a vocabulary and kind of understand things that go on, behind the scenes. But I thought that this would be a really great way to practice all of that stuff. Basically, air quotes, on the day. So we would give you a scene and partner or pair you up with a group and set up the cameras in the angles that you would be shooting, and then teach you actually how to run the scene. It would be a stop and start. We would set up your blocking and make sure you're aware of, the other person's camera that you don't want to block. Also making sure that you're not stacking each other, making sure that when you put something down, it's not in front of a camera or it's on the side of the camera that it can then be used again or given an insert.
Eyeline, lenses, all of the stuff that we've released in these first 6 courses. And by stop and start, what we mean to define it is really... normally you would have like a stop and start rehearsal where you would like get marks as you go. But instead for this, it's stop and start, and Haley and I would break down, okay, for this, you might want to pay attention to like where your eyeline is. Okay, let's stop here. Now you might want to open yourself up, like making notes as we go rather than like adding marks to a floor. So stop and start of just really analyzing and critiquing a scene and how it's broken down, because my idea was literally to be like, well, we could teach like basics of lenses or frame size, but then Haley's like, well, let's just make it an entire scene because that's how actors learn. And I love that. That's why you and I are doing this together, because you know how to ground it for an actor.
Yeah, but also, like, don't knock that idea. Don't mock yourself. I hate
I'm not
that you
mocking
did
myself.
that.
My ideas are wonderful,
like,
but I love this idea.
Let's just do this. Like,
Yeah.
You
No,
thought
I
you
love
were
it.
dumb. No, I also think that it would be great at some point also to be like, today we're doing lenses, you know? Well, we can offer multiple different things, but I think, yeah, ultimately what I would be looking for if I were to, like, be like, okay, I'm ready, like, let's try. I would want to actually try the thing.
How it applies.
And, yeah, figure out how it applies and figure out how I could personally practice it.
And I've already talked to a few people, like Stoss, our camera operator, that I work with a lot. He would come in and help and make notes.
That's so nice.
I think we'll have, I won't say names yet, but I think we'll have one of the directors from the roundtable in with us, maybe one or two.
God.
So we can really break down, like, even though it's a small, intimate setting, we can still have the right rules on set to give you the input specifically when working on the technical performance. So tell us if this would be something you're interested in. And if you're not in LA, because all of these would be in LA to start. If you're not in LA, is this something you want us to record and put online for you to watch later?
Yeah.
I'm excited about it. I mean, I just love the feeling, the energy, and feeding off that energy. So this would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, just the opportunity to meet some people who have been learning our stuff is, oh my God, so exciting. I want to meet everybody.
Same. I mean, yeah, that's why we live in LA. If it wasn't for people, I don't know what it would be for. Weather gets, whatever.
Yeah.
It's been hot.
It's been hot.
But I thought as well, you know, some of the feedback we got from our beta launch was a lot about the story behind us. And one of the comments that we got was very much, why is a DP teaching us? And that's a fair question because for me, and I think for Haley, it's pretty obvious because when you work in film, you understand the role of a DP, a cinematographer, and how much they really have input on how your performance is captured. But for newer actors, I can understand of like, why is this outside person that I never get to meet in my acting classes, that I never get to hear about? I don't even know what a DP is. Like, why is it a DP and you're not calling yourself a cinematographer? All of this stuff. Why is this one person partnering up with an actor and trying to teach us all this like technical stuff I've never heard of?
Right. And especially from like a newer actor's perspective, you don't, like, what relevance does a DP have to an act? Like, it really,
I get it.
Like, you don't hear about them when you're in drama school or in classes. It's directors, it's producers, and those are your people. Secretly, DPs are really good friends for actors to know and really incredible people for actors to learn from. They're also, like, the person who you can really just, like, work closest with and make sure everything looks really good.
With the director's permission.
But I'm just saying that, like, DPs get ignored, and it's kind of lame.
I mean,
because a DP can change your life.
Yeah, we kind of love getting ignored a lot of the time because it means we don't have to deal with a lot of stuff. But when it comes to this kind of thing, when you're paying attention to the technical of performance, the first thing you should understand is that the most technical person on set is always going to be the DP or someone within the department that falls under the department of camera, lighting, or electric. And so teaching these courses for the technical performance, obviously it comes back to the relationship between a DP and an actor, and also what I can offer you from working on so many different sets with different people, and what kind of relationships I have with the actors I work with on set, specifically in narrative. I mean, music video is a whole other world, just because you're adhering to very different rules. Mm-hmm. There is so much performance that happens for artists, but they're not trying to be actors. They're trying to be a version of themselves. So it's a very different world. It's I'd say much more technical than emotional. It's much more, I have much more of a role on a music video set being vocal than I do on a narrative set until that relationship has been established.
Mm-hmm. Hey everybody, it's Haley, just popping in here to chat a little about Cinematography for Actors. It's an online course platform that Indy and I created to teach the technical side of performance. Our goal is to help you, as an actor or newer filmmaker, feel confident when you walk onto set. We release new classes monthly, and you'll also find tons of free downloadable content. We recommend our subscription, where you'll have unlimited access to all of our existing courses, bonus materials, and those new monthly releases. Our listeners can use code TTCPodcast for 20% off a monthly membership of the entire collection. That's TTC Podcast for 20% off your card at checkout. Okay, now back to the episode. Yeah, I do think that it's really important for people to know kind of where you came from and how you started, because your journey is really, really cool. Like, you didn't just decide, like, at 20 that you were going to be a DP and then go to film school. You did eventually, but you started much earlier. So let's talk about that, because you kind of knew that you really were interested in, like, the camera world at what age?
It's 15.
Okay.
15, film class in high school.
You took a film class in high school?
I took a film...
Was that your first film class?
Yes.
That was your first kind of introduction at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I was named after Indiana Jones, so with that comes, like, understanding that I probably watched a lot of films if I was named after a film character. And so every week growing up, my father and I would watch movies together, Tuesday evenings for discount tickets, and Sundays or Saturdays, depending on if I was busy as I got older. And we would watch like matinees. So I grew up with a lot of film, and then when it was time to go to university, I went to a school that was very adamant on, like, when you are in 10th grade, you start, what is that in America? In Canada?
15, 16.
15, yeah, okay, great. So 10th grade, which is what, like freshman, junior?
Oh, it's your sophomore year.
Sophomore year. I never got used to these. I love it. I love it. It feels like I'm in an American movie when I talk about it like that. But so when I was in my sophomore year, I was in a film class, and the way it started, when I think back on it, which is really funny, is we had to, like, pitch ideas for short films that then we would team up on, and that would be, like, kind of like our thesis film in high school that we would work on the following year. And so you could pitch your role or pitch your film idea to the class, like 3 minutes. Then everyone would pick 7 films, 5 to 7 films, and then you would pitch yourself for the role, and you would write down what role you would want to take: editor, cinematographer, writer, producer. I think those were the 4. And then you would, like, kind of do everything, but still at least you had a credit. And I was very sure I wanted to be a director, because that's all I knew. I didn't know there were really other roles, and I didn't really understand what the roles were. It was a newer film class at this high school, so I was like, okay, yeah, like, a producer, I get it, but, like, I want to direct. Like, that's just all I knew.
Oh, that makes sense, though, because from, you know, like, what at that time people know about directors, like, you're in charge, and you're such a natural leader that, like...
Oh, thanks. Yeah, but...
You're gonna be in charge.
I enjoy it. But I thought I put down director for everything. Like, I was like, this one director, this one director. My film did not get picked. I was obsessed with Terrence Malick, so it was very much like an art film about the city of Toronto, which is where I was from. And it was
How did you become obsessed with Terrence Malick at 15?
I went to Tree of Life in the cinema with my dad on a Tuesday. I think I even skipped the afternoon of school to watch it, just because, like,
my God.
He was like, you want to do it? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I was in, like, this is so off, like, whatever topic, but I was in horrible pain that day watching it, because they gave me, like, a coffee or a tea, and it was too hot, and I burnt my tongue. So the entire time I was trying to focus on watching Tree of Life, and I was just so, like, enthralled and, like, really involved in the moving image of it, and, like, the voiceover and all of the stuff he's famous for as a director. But my tongue was just, like, scraped of taste buds. But anyway, so that's how it was. And so I was like, wow, this is a newer filmmaking style I'd never seen before. I didn't watch anything of his prior to that. So when I came to pitching films, I tried to pitch as if I was like Terrence Malick. And so I pitched from a very like selective directorial style. But mine didn't get picked because everyone was like, what? No, like
Real life.
Yeah. Well, they were like, what is this like art concept film about the city of Toronto? Like, you know, lovers in like the city and elements of nature, you know, whatever. So I pitched myself to be a director of the other films. And then the next day when the teacher gave us all of our assignments, she put me down as cinematographer for the film, for one of the films. And I was really upset by this. I didn't like the idea of someone else being in charge. I was very like different when I was younger. I'm more sly about it now.
I was going to say, are you different?
I'm a little more polite now about it.
You do love to be in charge.
Yeah, I am more polite about it. So I asked the teacher if we could go into the hallway, and I said, I put down director for everything. Why am I cinematographer? And she went back into the classroom, brought out a piece of paper, and under everything it said cinematographer. I thought for some reason I had put down director. She's like, you put down cinematographer for everything. I would have given you director, but you literally wanted to be a cinematographer. And I'm like, oh what? God, why did I do that?
It was the universe.
Yeah, exactly.
It was ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually got mad at her and I said, well, I want to be a director. And she goes, well, you can't. We assigned it. And I said, she's like, I think you'd be a great DP or a cinematographer. And I said, okay, can I just do it on my own? Can I do my idea on my own? And she's like, film is about collaboration. No. And that was fantastic because to this day, film is absolutely about collaboration. Can you imagine if someone had told me, yeah, you can do it on your own? I might not be working in film today because no one would want to work with me because I'd assume I can do everything on my own. And it would not be good. So let me speed up my story. I shot that and then I ended up applying for a film school. I applied to 50 universities for all different things because I was so afraid I wasn't going to get in, even though like I was fine. And I got into a bunch and I only applied for film at 2, Bard and University of Edinburgh, Edinburgh College of Art. And the only reason I applied to Scotland was because I looked up on Reddit what camera was used for Tree of Life. And someone was like, the red camera. And I was like, ooh, what's the red camera? By the way, now this is incorrect knowledge. I know this now. This is incorrect knowledge. It was shot on film. And so I saw that. This one person who commented, oh, it's shot on a red. And I went, film schools that have a red camera. Like, I'm going to be Terrence Malick as long as I have the same film camera. Like, or same camera. Like, this is how I thought, right? Because I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And so I went all the way to Scotland without even going to the school to tour it. Moved my entire life at 17 to university in the middle of Edinburgh, Scotland to study filmmaking.
At 17, did you finish high school?
I skipped
early?
a grade when I was younger. So yeah, I was like a young baby.
Smarty pants.
Yeah, a young baby. But so I ended up in Scotland with like cold weather. It was like a really fun film program, but it was more documentary based. I learned within the first year I was there that I wanted to be a DP. Because I heard 2 people talking about lenses and they were like, no, it's a 1.4. I thought, of getting like the 1, and I'm like, what is a 1.4? And they were trying to explain. I didn't know it. So I had my parents for Christmas buy me a Canon 7D so I could teach myself photography to learn exposure and like framing and the principles of cinematography because they didn't really have a cinematography program. You could like do directing, you could do sound, you could be a cinematographer, but there wasn't specific teachers at the time that would teach that.
Who could train you?
So actually one of the guest teachers who was a cinematographer, but was like a guest teaching one day was like, you cannot learn cinematography here. You need to go to Cameraimage in Poland.
Oh. And
so Cameraimage is a word of mouth film festival that is, I could probably do 4 podcast episodes about Cameraimage. Cameraimage is the largest and maybe only cinematography film festival in the world. And everything that wins awards there can be shortlisted for the Academy Awards.
Wow.
It is where new technology comes out first. It is where the biggest vendors in the world have workshops for a week. The biggest DPs fly in. Huge A-list stars go. It costs you nothing to be there. The the pass is under $100. For students, it's under $50. For unlimited workshops, for unlimited films, for unlimited parties at night, the nightclub that they have. The food's fantastic. It's cheap. And it's pretty much like 7 to 10 days. Is it 10 days? I think it's 10 days. 10 days of partying, movies, and learning everything you possibly can about cinematography, jam-packed.
Wow.
And it is nonstop. Pixar's there, Ares there, Hawk is there, Panasonic, Panavision, Sony, Zeiss. Everyone is there. And huge DPs. Like, the first year I went, I met the DP of Terrence Malick's film, Thin Red Line.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like I talked to him, and I made friends with Peter Simonite, who did second unit DP on Tree of Life, and I cried talking to him about it. I was like 17.
You're like, changed my life.
We're still friends. Like, I love him, and that is how my career in this industry started. Was going to Poland. I was so broke. I took 3 trains and 1 Ryanair flight to get to the middle of nowhere in Poland in November. Big gosh. To stay in a cheap Airbnb and learn about cinematography for a week. I got back, and soon after that I dropped out of that film program, and I ended up going to Argentina to study 16mm film and cinematography at Universidad del Cine in Buenos Aires, in San Telmo. And then I ended up working, to speed things along. It's a long journey. And then I ended up working at Hawk, which really started my relationships within the industry. They're my family. We shot a lot of our classes with them, but they are Vantage Film. They make Hawk anamorphic lenses, which are some of the best anamorphic lenses in the entire film industry. Everyone is familiar with those lenses. They are very rare, very hard to come by. They are very expensive, and they are the most beautiful lenses you'll ever see. And the first time I ever saw them, I was afraid to hold it because I had never seen something so big and like so heavy and so like expensive. Mm-hmm. But they were like, yeah, they like threw it at me. And I mean, in a very German way, they threw it at me. But I then just like moved my life after dropping out, did Argentina. I was supporting myself by doing stills photography with it's now called Shutterstock Custom. It used to be Flash Stock, and so I was I was doing agency briefs for clients around the world, and I would get paid to just like get a brief on my laptop. I would take photos, and then I would submit that online and get like a model budget, sometimes location budget, and then I would get like the product shipped to me. So Clean and Clear UK, I did stuff for Mercedes. I was flown to Barcelona to do Camp Nou, the BTS for a commercial they were shooting. I went to Korea for in Seoul to do the opening of like a Black Edition Fairmont, or was it Marriott? Fairmont and Marriott. I did over like 50 briefs with them, and that's how I supported myself, in addition to being on Getty Images and Adobe Stock, doing stock photography of the places I was traveling and working.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, what? What? What even is that, though?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a thing that exists anymore. What you just said you
stock
were doing.
photography, or
well, stock photography where a company sends you a budget.
That exists.
It does.
Any photographers listening, as a photographer, you can still apply to Shutterstock Custom and create an application. And then, I mean, I don't know. I worked with them from like the beginning. And at the same time, I forgot to mention, I was also teaching photography online through Skillshare as a beta teacher. When they were paying out like huge sums of money, you would get $1 a student. Now it's like 0.05 cents per minute watched. But I used to get $1 a student. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll just keep uploading photography classes. Mm-hmm. And it was like a lot of travel photography. Those still exist also. So I get payments still to this day for stock imagery and for my classes. But anyway, Shutterstock Custom, they exist. And I don't know if they fly people out. Maybe they're favorite people. But they don't fly a lot anymore. It's normally because they have so many photographers. It's like within wherever you're based.
Did you learn about this from Cameraimage?
No.
Like someone there told you. How did you learn about this?
About the Shutterstock Custom?
Yeah.
I was home and started a photography business one summer in Toronto to try and make some money before traveling again.
Yeah.
It was just after I dropped out, and so it was like Indeana Underhill photography. I did weddings, I did photo shoot, I did portraits, headshots. I did every single thing except babies, because that's dangerous if you don't have the proper training. Newborn shoots. So I was on... so the equivalent of Craigslist in Toronto or in Canada is called like Kijiji. We have both, but people really use Kijiji. And they just had looking for photographers for shoots. And I'm like, great, maybe I can make some money doing that. So I followed their thing, applied, and then Patrick, who I don't think works there, Pat, anymore, but he was one of the lead brief guys, and he hooked me up with so many things, him and the team there, because I was one of the newest photographers. They just started. They had just launched. They were in a startup building in Toronto, in downtown Toronto, in a little office. Wow. And so that summer, my first shoot was with Corona, Nicorette. Oh my God. Yeah, and it was great. And then I got Mercedes and stuff, and it was awesome because they were just yeah, take the car for the weekend. You know what I mean? And shoot with your friends, and we'll pay your friends. God. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was enough to be I can live off this as a student.
Yeah.
And this was all obviously helping me become a cinematographer because I was learning about different styles because everyone had a different brief and mood involved and types of photos and angles and lenses and settings. And although I was just doing photography, you learn the principles, and that's what matters. Lens swaps, magnification, depth of field, basic exposure, and framing, and shutter speed and stuff, but that doesn't matter as much in cinematography. And then I just started kind of shooting video alongside stills, and ended up going to Main Media Workshops, which is a summer course that you can do. It's also a word of mouth a word of mouth thing that I found out because I was trying to apply to the union in Toronto for the camera trainee program. And they're well, you should tick this, and this box. And one of them was Main Media Workshop Cinematography Intensive. And it's pretty much this school in the woods of rural Maine that's beautiful. And they have, once again, huge DPs, huge industry leaders come and teach courses for a week at a time or 3 days at a time. So I learned ACing, camera operating, Steadicam, lighting, cinematic lighting, and I met a ton of, it's a very intensive group of maybe 12 to 15 people. And you live on in dorms. And so it's a little summer camp for adults, for young adults.
Fun. Why is all of this stuff so secret?
It's not. You just have to know where to look.
Yeah, it's not big.
Yeah. You really just have to know where to look. It's kind of crazy that way. And through that, I met one of my best friends, Mostafa Shishtawi, who is a DP based in Egypt, but is also working a lot in Qatar. We became good friends during that time in Maine, and he ended up 6 months later being hey, do you want to come to Doha, Qatar and be a camera operator for a film festival? And so I was oh yeah, I'm shooting a film in Edinburgh. I went back to shoot one of the people in my class's films as a cinematographer. And their thesis films. And then I was yeah. And so I flew to London. I paid for that. And then they paid business class for me to fly out to Qatar, put me up in the W Hotel apartments, got me a per diem and a driver. And
gosh.
And then I just was an operator for 2 weeks and made, I won't say, maybe, should I say? $3,000. I made $3,000 American in Qatar, which was a lot.
Wow.
And then I went back to Germany and continued to work with them in between during Cameraimage season. So around November. So I would work September, October, November with them. Then I would work at their booth in November at Cameraimage, meet everyone again, say hi, build my network. And then I would, travel outside of that. And so then he's hey, do you want to come to Egypt and work on a film? And I was yeah. And so I worked as an AC on his first feature as a DP. And this is all just because I met him in Maine, and that's all because I ended up wanting to be in the camera union, but that's all because one person told me to go to Cameraimage, and I ended up dropping out of school, and all of this stuff kind of worked out. And in between this, I just wanted to be in LA. I kept journaling, and I would just write. I mean, there were so many dark times where I would just write, I can't wait to be in LA. It feels like such a far world. How do I get my name in the credits? When is kind of my life going to begin? Even though I was doing all this great stuff, I was still where
it was almost
it was stepping up. Yeah, it was a stepping stone. And then I applied to AFI while living in Egypt. It had been a year I had been in Egypt, still doing photography, still doing ACing, DPing a little on the side, just my own projects. And I applied to AFI, the American Film Institute in LA. I got in. And I flew to LA, and that's where my LA career started. but I had already, I don't know, maybe over 50 people I was close with in LA because of Cameraimage, because of being in Poland for so many years. So the moment I got to LA and moved into my apartment, the day I got there, one of my good friends, Stephen Pizzello, who's the editor-in-chief of American Cinematographer, he was like, hey, do you want to come to a Netflix premiere event? And I was like, oh my God, I'm meant to be in LA. And it was for Glow. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, is this what LA is like? And I went to like the Glow premiere and we did roller skating and I fell and I still have a scar from it. And so there's just so, I mean, that's like a very shortened version of my journey. And then once I graduated AFI, I was able to shoot over 35 projects. So to this date, I have over 35 credits as a DP. And I think kind of maybe the most important thing to say is that when I graduated AFI, I decided I didn't want a crew. Mm-hmm. This is going to be like a debate for a lot of people within the industry. Actors too, if it's like PAing and acting, or if it's like acting and production coordinating, or it's like you want to be a DP, but hey, I'll gaff and I'll AC as well, or like, I don't know what exists in sound. All art department's the same. I want a PD, but like I'll be art department, you know. Yeah. All of that exists, and the different mentalities make sense. I made a very specific, very strong choice to not crew at all, because I wanted everyone to meet me after I graduated AFI to know me as a DP. I didn't want to meet a producer on set and I was first ACing. I didn't want to meet someone at a networking event and they're like, oh, you worked with a DP friend of mine, you second AC, do you want a second? And I'm like, nah. Like, I had done all that and I was like, yo, I'm done with that. I'm a DP now. And I made that strong choice to be like, I'm not advertising myself. I lost a lot of gigs from that, like gaffing and seconding and firsting and stuff. But yeah, so you lose a lot of money, but it pays off in the long run, because then you're known as a DP, like, because you are a DP at the end of the day, like you are. And it's okay to do all the other stuff, because a lot of people, you know, LA's expensive, so a lot of people need that money. And so it's okay to do that. I just had to make that choice for myself, because I wasn't buying cameras, so I wasn't able to offer that as a DP. That's another route. So yeah, it's a little over the place. I mean, it's a shortened version, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and now, you know, like, it did pay off, because now you are only approached for work as a DP.
Yes. Yeah,
which
definitely.
Is kind of what you were going for.
Yeah. Yeah, it was hard at the beginning, but yeah, it's great now.
I want to go way back.
Okay.
Because I remember you telling me kind of off the cuff one time that you trained as an actor, that they made you train as an actor in grade school. Is that true? Like, you had to take acting classes?
I acted from the ages of 6 to 17.
Oh my God, everybody. Indeanna Underhill used to be an actor.
I didn't count it.
She's not telling anybody about it, but she's teaching actors because she used to be an actor.
I do not count that.
Oh my, it counts. What kind of stuff did you do?
Theater. It was all theater.
Okay. But like, you were 6.
I auditioned for a commercial when I was 9.
Oh my God, everybody.
Yeah, but that's it. I mean, it was just funny. But
this is the second film audition we've heard about from you.
The one in Egypt does not count.
It counts. Okay, wait. So when you were a kid, like, did you like go to acting classes?
No.
Or it was just like you would audition for stuff?
It was just audition. I mean, it wasn't.
How did you find stuff to audition for? You've always been such a go-getter, Indeanna.
Yeah. I guess it started later in my life. Well, I grew up in Halifax before Toronto, and there was a producer that came to the school one day and sat like a bunch of us in each grade down at like an assembly and was like, we are casting for a commercial. We will audition people if you're interested.
Okay.
And so it wasn't like I sought it. It just kind of like came. And so you had like 2 or 3 minutes, like, and you would go into a room in the school and they asked you like different scenarios, and everyone got a different scenario, so you couldn't like be like, what did you get? And you could practice.
Right. No.
It was supposed to be just like natural.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went in to the room, and there were 3 people sitting there. I think it was like 2 dudes and a girl. I should say that more appropriately. 2 men and 1 woman.
Two
dudes and a girl.
Chick.
Yeah, it's just like chicks hanging out. Yeah, no, it was 2 men and a woman, all producers and maybe like a casting director. And they were like, what's your name? You know, I guess you would call that a slate. So, you know, they asked me to slate
9,
it.
so they're like, just
what's your name? Yeah.
How old are you?
Yes, exactly. And then they said, okay, so for this, we'd like you to walk back into the room and pretend you are extremely tired from soccer practice. Okay. I remember this so well because I remember how bad it was. So, so I walked into the room and I was like huffing and puffing and just like, like I was giving birth or something, like breathing. And then I sat on the bed and I was like pretending to be in like excruciating pain. Now that I think about it, I'm like, if I was tired from soccer practice, I would just be like, ugh, and get onto bed and be like, whatever.
Just lie down.
But I was like dramatic. I did not get that role, you guys. I did not get that role. When I was 13, I applied for a TV show that my friend's dad was producing. I forgot what it was called, but it would be like, it was for divers in the Caribbean. It was like a teen drama.
Oh.
At 14, I got accepted into I won like a competition called Pitch for Production, which you create a film idea and you pitch it to executives in Nova Scotia. This was 13 because I'd moved at 13.
Wait.
Yeah.
Pitch for production at 13 and you were already interested in like film.
I thought it was fun. I didn't think about it as a career.
Okay.
But me and my friend created like a soap opera, not like the OC. We were watching the OC a lot. So we were creating, I think it was called Dibs. And I think it was because it was like Debbie, it had different names. And I think we made an acronym called Dibs.
Uh-huh.
And then we went in and no one had told us that it was actually for short film pitching. And so we had created a whole TV show with seasons and everything at 13.
Yeah.
And everyone else were like 15 and 16. We were the youngest and it was like 15 or 16. They had like a pitch. And to this day, I'm really mad, actually, still. I'm holding it over them because they selected a short film, which is about the story, a day in the life of a penny and where the penny travels during the day. Because when you won, you got $25,000 to make your film. But the thing that annoyed me about it was I'm pretty sure I read that in a textbook somewhere.
Ah, somebody just cheated.
And I try to find it to this day. Every once in a while when I'm bored at night, I like look like day in the life of a penny.
That penny?
Yeah, like
Where's
trying to
that
find
penny
it.
pitch?
Yeah, because I know they took it from a textbook that I saw once. But
well, they say good actors borrow, great actors steal. Cut that out. They say good artists borrow, great fuck. I can't do it.
You got this.
Well, they do say good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Nice.
I did it!
You did it.
Leave
Success.
that all in.
I will.
I want everyone to know how much I struggled.
And then
Just tried to make a joke.
Yeah. And then in Toronto, all through middle school and high school, I was in drama class. And for that, you had to act in people's plays, but then also write and direct and put on your own. Mm-hmm. And mine was, once I saw Terrence Malick at 15, all it was Terrence Malick related. I think I have a script still. I mean, I was like in charge of the lighting cues. I had like all of these ideas and it was very flowy and there was heaven and hell represented by like teenage girls because we had to cast like each other in it. And I remember like during our showcase, it was like a 2-hour showcase. Everyone had like a 15-minute play or whatever. And I remember my parents were like tucking themselves down into the seat because everyone around was like, what's going on? Like, who is this? Like, whose child is this? Because it was like a voiceover of dichotomy and like the balance of the living. At one point I had people move on a treadmill and had my friend in silhouette run on the treadmill and then she like got, it was like so funny, and then she got off the treadmill and went in front of a mirror and threw powder on her and put sticky notes of like hate and betrayal and like it was very over the top. And that's probably why I wanted to be a director, because I loved having the idea and being able to like create it. But what I didn't realize about it was that what I liked the most was creating it, like not like really actually like lighting design, shot design, how it's put together, and that's what a DP is.
Yeah.
So, but I just thought like directors do everything, you know what I mean? So yes, I have a lot of experience acting, but not formally and not good. I just would go wild and crazy, and I hated memorizing lines. So I would often be a terrible person to cast because I would just improv.
You're like, I know the story. Let me do it.
Yeah. So I would not call myself an actor whatsoever.
I would. They're all kinds of different actors.
Got it.
They're all different kinds of actors.
Yeah.
I'm struggling today.
No, I loved it. I love your ASMR voice. I think it's great.
Do you love it?
God, it feels like we took an edible before the podcast today. We didn't.
Should have.
I saw someone vaping on the way here in their car, and I'm like, I should get a pen.
Should I start being high more?
Yeah, I know. Like, should I be more of like an enjoyable person?
Every time I see someone, like, people will like smoke before they go to the gym.
Okay, I don't get that.
Oh my god!
If you're not doing yoga or meditating, I don't get that.
I think I would. It's because basically one time I was in St. Lucia. I'm saying that I know why people do it. One time I was in St. Lucia on a job, and it was my day off, and the gardener had given me some weed that he grew himself, and I wasn't going to do it while I was like babysitting, but it was my day off, so I went down to the Windjammer Resort at the bottom of the hill, and I toked it up. But then they have a very steep, very tall hill that you have to walk back up to get back to the house, because the house is on top of the mountain. And I usually hate walking up. God. I hate walking uphill more than anything. I think hiking is the stupidest, worst, dumbest, most idiotic activity in the world. Sorry, everybody. I'm a hiking hater. I don't know why you would do it.
Get out of LA.
I know, seriously. People are like, how do you date if you don't hike? And
I know, first dates. Hiking is out of the picture for dates, yeah.
Anyway, I had smoked that joint, and I walked up the hill, and I got to the top, and I was like, I don't even remember doing that. It didn't hurt at all. So you can go to the gym high and do a really hard workout and focus.
My God, it just sounds like you're overworking.
And then it's over.
Well, yeah.
It's gone. Like, it doesn't hurt so much.
It doesn't exist. Did I ever work out? Yeah. But moral of my journey, I think, is that what I love is that everyone has such a journey, a different journey. And you and I are both not at the top of our careers, but I love that that's why we're talking about it, because you hear a lot of like, how did these A-list stars make it or break it? And, everyone's journey is so unique, and being so aware of the context of everyone and the different ways that people have found themselves is a really important thing to understand, because there isn't a right or wrong way of doing it, but there are different options of how you attack things and approach things. And being aware of them gives you an understanding that you obviously wouldn't have had beforehand or otherwise.
Yeah. Also that just like, there's no wrong way to like find your way into the career that you want. Yeah. You just...
Especially a creative field.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, if you're following like your heart, like if you really are following the things that are making you happy, you will find your way into the place that you want to be. Yeah. Or it will find you. So thank you, Inde, for sharing with us your journey. I think that it is really relevant for us to talk about it and to kind of know where you've come from, to understand who it is that we're learning from. Especially as actors, I don't know, maybe not all actors, but for me, I have a little bit of a bad attitude sometimes, where when someone's trying to teach me something, I'm kind of like, but let me look at your credits first to like see if I want to know. And I'm sure that is something I need to work on. No, I get it. But I love knowing that like you really fought for this. You know, it's not like you just like went to high school and then you went to an easy film school in college and then you went to easy AFI. Like, that was not the trajectory that you took, and you really have like learned things that you don't learn. You know how we're trying to teach something that isn't taught in traditional training. And I feel like your whole background is finding things out in non-traditional ways.
Oh,
so this just kind of like fits really nicely into the way that you've found your way here.
I also think that one of the benefits of really kind of going an alternative route for anyone listening, and that I find, the most beautiful and often makes me so emotional when I look back on it, is the beauty of understanding how to tell someone else's story. So I was able to travel to 30 plus countries trying to find my way into film and learn camera and all this. And through that, I met so many incredible people in and outside of film that I have such a understanding sometimes of even the simple things of like how lighting felt in that city, or what kind of interiors there were, and if there was claustrophobia involved, if there was isolation, how open, how I mean, for me, it would be like how to mix more sodium light if it was shooting somewhere in the Middle East. How it's not like if you were going to Mexico and how there's that weird filter that goes over top of everything, but it's so inaccurate. It's like, it's things like that of like, for me, that's what I take away for how to tell a story and also characters. But for an actor, if you traveled that much or if you met that many different people by going an alternative route, or even if you stayed in your hometown, but you worked with a bunch of different people and you really put yourself out there, you're getting to know so many different things to gather and steal from for your own character in the future. There's always like a worry within our film industry that people hire too young sometimes, actually, instead of like, ageism and, about getting older. But there's actually a lot of respect for older individuals within our field because they actually have information and life experience to gather their script for. Like all of the information and research that they're able to do, they can do from life experience.
Yeah, there's a richness that can add to a story.
Yes, and it's more thorough. So that's why when people always start in film, they teach others to write what you know. And a lot of the time, if you haven't expanded yourself a lot, you can't write what you know is very limited.
Yeah.
And so I think even though I'm a DP and it's, our main audience here are actors and newer filmmakers, I think getting the most amount of life experience, not by like going wild and taking too many risks, but just like really becoming open-minded and opening yourself up to other relationships and friendships and people and companionship and how other people live and be inquisitive is a huge part of my work now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really important for everyone, I think. Yeah. Especially working in a creative field.
That's a lovely note, and I think we should end there.
I agree.
Yeah.
But let us know if you have any questions and also how you feel about doing an in-person workshop with us in LA.
Yes. Tell us what you want.
Tell us what you want if you loved Hayes' idea, which I did. And we will eventually, once we have date and time, create a sign-up for that so that we have some names ready to go to invite.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They're going to be free. Don't you worry. They're free.
They're free.
They're free.
We just want to meet you.
We just want to meet you and practice.
Yes. But thanks, everyone. And this has been Haley and Indeanna on the Topanga Collective podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. Bye, guys.
Bye.